It's all a question of
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Nom Bros Pod. I'm Justin.
I'm John. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in.
Welcome back indeed. We have a very exciting night planned, a variety of subjects, starting with the NHL playoffs, transitioning to Star Wars: A New Hope, followed by our True Detective Season 1 continuation analysis. I believe we're on episode 6. But before we get into any of that, John, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. Stoked that it's NHL playoffs. Hoping that Minnesota has a good postseason for a change. Bowing out in the first round the last 10 years, haven't made it past the first round is pretty pathetic, but I like our squad. I like our chances out of the West. In the East, not being far from Buffalo, first time they've made the playoffs in like 15 years. So pretty excited to see how they fare. And obviously Pittsburgh, Philly, Battle of Pennsylvania,
Oh, yeah.
going to be a great series. Malkin's last year potentially. Crosby's up there in age too, so those teams
Yes,
always battle each other great. So looking forward to tuning into that one. But yeah,
definitely.
I figured let's do playoff bracket picks for round one. Round one's going to run about 2 weeks, and I thought it'd be a fun little challenge to put our picks in and see where we differ and who comes out on top.
Sounds good. And before we do, I don't believe we've ever really dove into hockey or football part here on the Non Bros Pod. Those of you watching, John is a die-hard, loyal Minnesota fan for the Minnesota Wild and the Minnesota Vikings. And before we dive into the bracket, quick question for you. Who's more frustrating, the Minnesota Vikings or the Minnesota Wild?
The Vikings. I mean, they're just absolutely it's so predictable with Minnesota anymore. The Vikings that, I'm already at the age where I just don't even get upset with the team.
Yeah.
Since 98, being 8 years old, that was my first true heartbreak over sports was the Randy Moss rookie season, the Gary Anderson missed field goal, and nothing surprises me anymore. Like since then, it's nonstop drama with the team. Wish I could be a different fan of a different team, I should say, but was born into it,
Yeah,
and
for
we'll
sure.
never, we'll never not stop supporting the Vikings. But the Wild, I'm just hockey to me is there's nothing better than hockey. So I like the Wild's team this year, and yeah, we could talk sports, our teams all day long on different episodes. But yeah, I'm really hopeful that the Wild can pull out of the Western Conference and get something going here. It'll be a fun little couple weeks here in the playoffs. Looking forward to seeing it. We'll revisit these picks when round one is completely over. Continue off with round two.
Let's definitely pay attention to it. Obviously, best of seven, so some of these series may stretch on some time. Some of them may be over here in a couple days, well, not a couple, a few days, but definitely will be something fun for us to continue to engage over the next couple months for sure.
Absolutely.
And with that being said, we're going to transition to our second topic of the night, which was our weekly homework, watching the 1977 classic Star Wars: A New Hope, episode 4. This is a new segment you and I are working on. Obviously, we're continuing to do our deep dive of True Detective season 1. But we figured, you know what? Let's also add another well-known movie that is a very fun movie to talk about with a lot of different subjects we could dissect. Last week we started with Titanic. Loved the discussion we had, and it just encouraged us to keep it going, and we decided to rock with Star Wars. So with that being said, before we get into anything, John, what's your opinion on the franchise? Are you a fan? Do you have a favorite episode? Like, what do you think of Star Wars?
Not gonna lie, when you pitched this idea, I wasn't thrilled about it because the Star Wars movies to me have just lost so much of the magic that I had for them, or they had on me, when we were kids. Way more into it when I was a kid, growing up collecting the action figures. And I'll never forget when, episode one came out, in what, 2000, 1999 or something, the
99, Phantom
the
Menace.
start of the new trilogy again. Like, I loved it at that point. But
Hmm.
looking back, I just don't feel like they've aged that well for me personally.
Hmm.
Entertaining, sure. Discuss them all day long. There's cool sets and sequences, action sequences. The story's not bad, but I just some of the acting and script writing, I don't know, it doesn't do it for me as much anymore as an adult, which is it kind of upsetting because I never was into Star Trek. I didn't get into sci-fi really ever or any other, science fiction series. Star Wars was just what it was for us when we were kids. So I'm excited for this discussion because I would choose the original trilogy all day over anything that's made, by Disney or Phantom Menace, Clone Wars, and Revenge of the Sith. I'm taking the original George Lucas trilogy with, Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill every day of the week. So I'm glad to be discussing it. But I don't know. How about you?
Yeah, I agree. I do enjoy the original trilogy, 4, 5, and 6. I do enjoy them. Same boat. There's when it comes to the prequels, The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith. They start to lose me a bit. I really enjoyed Phantom Menace. I thought Attack of the Clones was terrible. Anakin Skywalker's character just ruins it for me. He's such a whiny bee.
He
But
really
there's
is.
some aspects of Revenge of the Sith episode 3 that I really do enjoy as well. Then we get into episodes 7, 8, and 9. They completely lose me. I think they're terrible. I actually didn't even finish episode 8 or episode 9. I started watching them both and I was like, this is just terrible. It doesn't make any sense. The writing's terrible. The plot just has so many holes. And like for example, like Palpatine returned, and when they dropped that, it was like so insignificant. It was like I don't know how, but somehow Palpatine returns. And everybody's like, oh, it's just terrible. But when we're talking the original trilogy, starting with A New Hope, I'm a fan. So I was excited to jump into this week, rewatch it. It's been a little bit since I watched A New Hope. And I do find it to be a good movie. I find it entertaining. It starts out with an introduction to, one of the most iconic characters of all time, Darth Vader, invading a ship that Princess Leia is on to find the stolen blueprints, or plans, if you will, to destroy the Death Star. Leia obviously puts them in a droid and sends them off to Tatooine to find Obi-Wan Kenobi, as we know, Ben Kenobi, and that's really where the entire franchise starts. What do you think of that opening scene? What do you think of the introduction to, such an iconic character of Darth Vader?
Oh yeah, I mean Darth Vader is, like you said, iconic. A good introduction. They get right to the point, right to the action. Looking back, you would have hoped probably for a little bit more build up to meeting the villain.
Mm.
Yeah, for me, it's hard to watch back and not just pay attention to the stormtroopers and the sound effects that like they make. Like those have to be the most uncomfortable suits ever. I can't even imagine like nowadays, I'm sure it would be a lot more comfortable making a movie like that, but back in the day, it's up there with probably the Tin Man from The Wizard of Oz in terms of how uncomfortable those suits look.
Dude,
But
and these are professional.
stuntmen, they're probably
These
like
are no, no,
laughing and giggling.
these are like professional like troopers, like soldiers, and they are such terrible shots. I don't think stormtroopers ever have made contact with any of their
Like,
targets. I
don't
don't
they
think
have
they've
like
killed anyone
a
ever.
range day where they have to go and practice target shooting? Like, not at all. They're just blasting holes throughout their ship, in every which way. It's yeah, that's always stood out to me too. It's hilarious. But I can only imagine like the actors when that movie, they're reading the script and they're like, wait, what is this movie about? Like, we have to dress up. What's a stormtrooper? Like, and then they're like running through the halls, and George Lucas is, all right, action. You three stormtroopers, run over here. I can only imagine them like giggling under their helmets. They're probably like, this is so ridiculous. This movie's never gonna make money. I would
Well,
be.
seriously, though, I mean, you're absolutely right. And I don't know why, but whenever we're talking stormtroopers, I just, not to be repetitive here, I cannot get over how terrible at shooting they are. Leia comes on at the end of this movie, probably the first time she ever shoots a gun, and she goes like 6 for 6 shooting with like 6 deaths. She, first time she gets a gun, has like a higher success rate of shooting than like any stormtrooper
Then
we ever
20
see in the
stormtroopers
entire
down the hall.
franchise. So.
Yeah, then twenty stormtroopers down the hall can't hit the broadside of a barn, and Leia just picks one up and starts blasting them. They're also probably like looking at Vader. They're like, "Wait, why does he get a cape?" It's just such random costume design choices, like
Yeah.
obviously an iconic costume for Vader, but yeah, I just can't imagine what it was like for those people, all those actors and stunt doubles making the film behind the scenes. Like, wow, this is
Hmm.
so weird. Like, who
Hmm.
thought up of this stuff? It's just so bizarre. But yeah, good
Absolutely.
opening introduction about what, you get the overall plot essentially. You pretty much know where this is headed right from the get-go.
Yeah, definitely. And not to stay too hung up on it, but just whenever I see a stormtrooper shooting, I always think of Harry Dunn in the end of Dumb and Dumber when he's faking his death and he jumps up and empties a whole clip, just missing it. Harry, you're alive! And you're a horrible shot. That's just where my mind takes me to with any
My mind
stormtrooper talk, dude.
Mine takes me to Saving Silverman, Jack Black, and Steve Zahn. Judith escaping from the basement. Durr! And she's running down the street and they're chasing
Oh
her
my
in
God.
the rodent pest control van that they have. And Jack Black has the night vision goggles on and his little trank gun. And he's like, I see her, I see her. And he's like aiming, and Steve's on in the background. All right, steady, steady. And Jack Black just pops off 2 shots, and you hear like windows breaking of somebody's residential home. And he looks back at him. He's like, I missed her.
Yeah.
Great movie,
Yeah.
by the way, Saving Silverman. Oh my gosh, so funny.
Okay, steady, steady. I missed her.
Have you ever seen the behind the scenes footage of them filming this movie, particularly this opening scene? And obviously it's not James Earl Jones behind the suit of Darth Vader. Darth Vader, he's literally just the voice. And when they shot, the actor who portrays Darth Vader, who's actually in the suit, he still says the line so the actors and actresses, can carry on the screenplay. And it is hysterical because the person behind the suit has this like ridiculous English accent. It's really funny. Have you ever seen that
I have
before?
not seen that, but yeah, I'll
Oh
have to
my
check it out
gosh.
now. I'll have to check it out because I'm sure that I don't even know how you could keep a straight face. Like when you think of Vader, you just think of James Earl Jones, and like how an actor could be responding to Vader in any other voice than what we're known that he has is, yeah, that's pretty funny. I did not know that.
It's so silly. If you have not seen that, check it out. And, James Earl Jones obviously kills his role. Unbelievable actor. And when I think of James Earl Jones, my mind actually doesn't take me to Darth Vader, Star Wars. It takes me somewhere else. Do you know where
The
that is?
Sandlot. The Sandlot.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, bro. Mr. Myrtle. Old Man Myrtle's the meanest man that ever lived. Great movie, dude. Great.
It is.
He crowd the strike zone. It almost disappeared. It's so good.
Teachers hate that.
Great actor, though. Great movie, Sandlot.
Hmm. Oh yeah.
So yeah, the droids, they are sent to Tatooine and they're captured, and sold as slaves essentially, and that's where we're introduced to Luke Skywalker, Uncle Owen, and Aunt Peru. Question for you: what are your first thoughts on Luke Skywalker when you're introduced to him? Because remind you, this is pre-hero, this is pre-Jedi, this is just a farmer named Luke out there in Tatooine. What's your
I
initial
mean,
opinion?
first impressions watching back at 35 years old, Luke
Yeah.
Skywalker might be the whiniest of all time in a movie. He's so childish and just
Yeah.
like I don't know even know how old Mark Hamill was when they started filming this, but Gosh, he just comes across as such a brat. It's like,
Absolutely.
But I was going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
dude, your world's about to be turned upside down, and you're worried about going to Tashi Station for power converters. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, he just drives me absolutely nuts. Through at least the first half of the original trilogy.
It's not that I like the Empire, I hate it, but there's nothing I can do about it right now.
Yeah.
Before that
Until he gets to
bitchiness.
Yoda. Until he
Yeah,
leaves Yoda and Yoda puts him in his place, you know?
exactly. Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. I think he is a whiny bitch. And he's he's so rude to the droids. I think that's what pisses me off the most. Like they literally speak to them as their slaves. It's actually pretty messed up, watching it. Uncle Owen tells 3PO to just shut up when he's just trying to like explain like what his services are.
Well, come on, Red, let's go.
And then the initial R2 unit that they buy when it blows up, C3PO recommends R2D2. Uncle Owen, what about that one? And as once again, 3PO's just explaining why R2D2 is a solid droid. Literally, Luke Skywalker's like, okay, I got it. Like, brushes him off. And I'm like, that's so rude. 3PO's just trying to help and just be like a loyal servant to you. So,
Yeah, they treat
and
him like shit until he needs them.
Wait a minute, where'd she go? Bring her back. Play back the entire message.
But you said it though, man. I mean, Uncle Owen gives him the first order, but I was going into Tashi Station to pick up some power converters. And
Yeah.
what's so funny is when he says that, it cuts to C3PO, and even though he's a droid with no emotions, he still just has this look on his face like fucking nerd.
I know.
But it
He's like,
shows
Uncle Owen, this
C3PO
is what
like,
you've been dealing with. This kid's a
yeah,
bitch.
for real, dude. No, absolutely. And then, it transitions to them having dinner with the infamous blue milk. And just the way he brings up, submitting his application to the university to Uncle Owen, it's just so, once again, just whiny. I was also thinking about our agreement. And it just comes across like just such a brat, just such a bitch.
Where are you going? Looks like I'm going nowhere.
So yeah, I mean, just really first impressions for me, pre-hero, pre-Jedi, not a fan. And he is wearing, I'm sorry, the tightest pants ever. With the baggiest shirt to match. It always reminded me of Thackeray Binks from the beginning of Hocus Pocus. Just not a fan of the
It's so
You know what I'm
good.
saying, don't it?
Zachary Banks.
It's Emily.
It's Emily. Oh gosh. Yeah, you're so right. Like as we come to find out, through each movie, more and more of Luke Skywalker's backstory. Like I can't believe Uncle Owen tolerated him for as long as he did. Like
Yeah.
death was a sweet release for Uncle Owen. That might be a little harsh. He just is
as
such a
as he was
whiny.
burned to a crisp. I don't think it was that sweet.
You're probably right.
He was literally burned to a fucking crisp. Oh my God. I feel you though. And it's just such a cop out. They try to blame essentially Anakin Skywalker, and Luke stands up and leaves dinner, all pouty. Oh, he's just got too much of his father in him. It's like, no, he's just a whiny bitch.
How can
So,
they even say that?
I know, they
The
never even
fact
met
that
him.
the fact that they say that and they know that Vader is out there somewhere, they're
I
just like, oh, he's just got a little of his father in it. It's like, yeah, you don't say.
And then literally like that afternoon is when, the Empire shows up and, unalives them. I can just picture them, the Empire showing up to them and their minds being like, oh shit, they're here because we said he's got too much of his father in him. They're probably like, no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I didn't mean
I
it,
was just
guys.
kidding.
I was just joking. So yeah, they meet their demise fairly early in the film. But the droids run away, man. The droids want to run away, and to be honest, I don't blame them because they're just treating them like shit. So they obviously have an agenda to deliver the plans from Princess Leia.
Question
And
though, question.
yeah,
Do the droids know who Luke is? I can't remember if like, okay, Luke buys them. with his uncle, but do they know right off the rip that this is Leia's brother?
I don't think so. I
Okay,
don't
well
think
that
that.
explains why they're like, we got to get away from this kid. He's not going to help us. He's a pussy. Like they're like, our chances are literally better us moving 2 miles an hour in the desert on our own than dealing with this Luke kid.
If they only knew they were with Darth Vader's son. They're just talking all this shit. Like, man, he was a fucking nerd, wasn't he? What a brat. Oh man, that's a good point. But no, I don't think they know who he is. They run away. Luke follows, of course. He gets jumped by the, what are they, sand
The
people?
sand
The
people.
which, by the way, I don't know if you remember. Do you remember the Super Nintendo game Star Wars: A New Hope?
I literally have it upstairs.
Oh,
Yeah.
do you really? Okay.
Yes, I still have that. One of the hardest games of all time, Star Wars. Yeah, that was one of the hardest games to, and they did there's games for each movie of the original series.
I know. I've watched long plays on YouTube of all three of them, of the original
Has
trilogy.
anyone ever beat those games?
Dude, comment below if you have. I mean, that's what we grew up on was Super Nintendo, and that's one of the few games
Oh
we
my
never
gosh.
beat. We never beat.
So hard. I mean, I think we've only ever made it to like level 6 at the most, where there was that big gigantic robotic boss at the one end of the
Yeah.
one level.
Yeah.
But that and the Jungle Book, man.
Yeah.
Those games were so hard.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We were obviously our go-tos were the Mario franchise, Donkey Kong franchise, but yeah, Jungle Book, Top Gun, or no, not Top Gun, Top Gear, the racing game. Another great game, but so fucking hard. Some of
Yeah, you
those
remember the
games,
last
dude.
time you and I played that one together, Top Gear? We made
Yeah.
it so far and saved all the passcodes. I
Yeah.
think you got mad that I came in first. We're like on the one of the last levels finally. We never made it this far in our lives, and you wanted first so bad. And I speed past you at the last second and just smile at you. You took the controller and slammed it on the ground, and it
And,
froze the
and the game,
game. And I was like, Justin, what the fuck? We just played this for 3 hours. And
the
you're like,
game
no,
fucking
that was
froze.
bullshit. What you just did, that was bullshit. That was my first place.
I do remember that. That was the farthest we ever got in that fucking game
It
too, and
was. It
sure
was.
enough ruined it, man. But anyway, back to A New Hope. Kenobi saves Luke, who got jumped by the Sand People, and he takes Luke and the droids back to his place, educates Luke a little bit on, his father, who he believes is deceased at the time, the Clone Wars, and they do come across the hologram, which is Princess Leia explaining why these droids are so important.
Hmm.
And, it's really funny watching that scene is Luke isn't even like paying attention. Like he just immediately falls in love with the hologram Leia. It's like, who is she? She's
Wait, play
beautiful.
it again.
Literally, like, she's beautiful. Meanwhile, she just had like the most, like sad, like sincere plead for help. And Luke is just worried about
Yeah.
getting with her. So,
Yeah, that's your sister there, buddy.
yeah, right, right.
You fought in the Clone Wars?
You know what else too? Just a little side note, rewatching some of these movies that aren't formatted of the original version, they went back and added CGI effects for certain scenes. It looks terrible, in my opinion, compared to the
Yeah.
original practical effects. I saw this one added scene where Han Solo runs into Jabba the Hutt, which was not included in the original version. It was a deleted scene, but I guess they put it on the TV version. And Jabba the Hutt looks terrible. And I'm like, why would you even do that? It just pisses me off sometimes, how
Practical
they,
effects
yep,
to me are
right,
just so much better than CGI.
way better,
I don't
dude.
care if the movie's 50 years old. It's like just stick with the practical effects.
Yep, absolutely. There's so many movies we could talk about where the practical effects make the movie. Especially like in the horror genre, like American Werewolf in London. Like, oh my gosh, like unbelievable. The
The
transformation scene in
Exorcist,
that, dude, that's scary. That's actually scary. I know we talked
Jason and
about,
the Argonauts.
dude, Ray Harryhausen, man.
Yep.
His stop and go motion. He is the Godfather. Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, Jason and the Argonauts, just an unbelievable talent. But I'm a big,
Mysterious Island. You remember that?
of course, of
We could
course,
talk about Ray Harryhausen movies that we grew up on and on in a whole nother episode. In fact, we should because those
definitely,
three right there would be like 20-minute segments. We
absolutely.
just like yeah, practical effects, Ray Harryhausen, and even Star Wars.
Hmm.
So anyway, yeah, back to the New Hope here. We're Ben Kenobi. They watch the hologram and they determine they need a ship and they need to rescue Leia. Um,
Yep.
so that's where they go into the cantina,
Yeah.
one of the best scenes in all of Star Wars history.
I knew you were gonna say that. I was like, when we come into this episode, I was like, I know John's gonna make it a point to dissect, the first time we're introduced to Han Solo. I agree. An unbelievable scene. There's a lot to unpack. What do you want to jump into initially?
Well, for one, I don't think it's fair to even have this discussion without mentioning how funny Seth MacFarlane's Star Wars cuts of these are because he just gets these scenes. He picks out the stuff that like we laugh about. Like his mind is just genius for it. Isn't there a scene that he picked where they walk into the bar and Luke is standing at the bar next to Kenobi and that really ugly guy walks up to him and he's like, he doesn't like you.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm sorry. And then he grabs Luke again. He's like, I don't like you either. I mean, I don't know. It's just like random shit like that just makes me laugh. The random characters that you come across, the costumes, it's just so bizarre and
So
like
bizarre.
wacky. Again, like how anyone comes up with these designs is just like
Yes.
can't imagine the mushrooms or something that they were
Right.
tripping on in the
Right.
early 70s when they're coming up with these ideas. But yeah,
But
we
what's
meet
what's up with that guy? He's the ugliest fucking character I've seen in any movie ever.
there
I
are
s-
some characters in that cantina bar scene that are like so gross looking I can't eat when I'm watching Star Wars. It makes me physically ill. I'm like, they are so ugly.
That's how I really feel about that guy. His nose is like so turned up, but
Yeah,
it's like so big, like it's like a smushed tomato, but it's like turned up, like oh, nasty.
it's gross.
Um, it's gross, but yeah, you said it. Like it's a big scene, a lot going on. It's where we're introduced to Han Solo. They're there to find a pilot, to find a ship, and they come across Han Solo and the Millennium Falcon. And before we dive into that, I just want to say, have you ever seen any of Harrison Ford's interviews on Star Wars? He gets so annoyed with the Star Wars fandom, and I could imagine why. He gets just so irritated. I saw this one question in an interview where someone was like, so we need to settle a debate. Who shot first? Was it Greedo or was it you? And anybody watching, Greedo's the green guy who sits down across from him, who he shoots. And Harrison Ford's answer is just, I don't care.
Yeah, he
He
seems
just
like a
gets,
real prize to
yeah,
talk to about his movies. I don't care.
he gets so annoyed with it. And I could imagine that, some of the questions he's been asked throughout his career are just like ridiculous, right? But he throws a price at him, 10,000 all in advance. 10,000?
10,000.
We
Could
could
buy
almost
our
buy
own
our own
ship
ship
for
for that.
10,000? We can almost buy our own ship for that. You bet I could. I'm not such a bad pilot myself. I don't have to sit here and listen.
You know what's so funny about that scene when he, says 10,000, we could almost buy our own ship for that. It pans over to Obi-Wan Kenobi and he almost like looks at Luke like, Jesus, kid, can you just shut the
just
fuck
shut up.
up?
Yeah. He's like, let me do the negotiating. Yeah, but who's gonna fly it, kid? You?
You bet I could. I'm not just a bad pilot myself. Come on, Ben, we don't need to take this.
And then Ben like is just like hush. And he's
He's
like,
like, quiet. I know.
he's like,
After he has the snap out, he looks like
Oh my gosh. He's just such a wimp and just always complaining, you know.
He really is. Iconic scene though. I love
Oh
it.
yeah, great scene. So they hire them and we're flying through space or whatever and they land on the Death Star and they have their plan. Again, they land somehow. They get through the tractor beam or the tractor beam sucks them in. Suck me right in.
Suck me right in. Anyway.
Anyway, they land in the Death Star,
Yep.
somehow evade all the stormtroopers because they're so unobservant and they're just like, huh, ship's empty. And then they get bonked on the head and their suits are stolen. Like, what do they do with the bodies? Like, where, where are the bodies of those stormtroopers? But they put on their costumes again.
Literally just the most useless guards
They're
and
so useless.
soldiers
And I
ever.
guess those stormtrooper suits are like one size fits all, because
Yeah,
they fit perfectly, of
of
course.
course.
I love how they raid the station. They act like Chewbacca's a prisoner and they walk him in. Prisoner exchange?
It is a good idea though. I like where their mind's at.
It is a good idea, but Luke's voice is like the least intimidating stormtrooper voice ever. It's like if I wasn't a captain, I'd be like, that doesn't sound like Unit 2456, like
Exactly. Yep.
prisoner exchange?
Exactly.
Whatever he says, prisoner swap or some shit, and they, they take out the station
Yeah.
and, they get the call. They get the call from, down the hall. They're like, hey, what's all that ruckus? Like, what's going on down there? And Han Solo's like, nothing. We're all
Situation normal. How are you?
Right now, we're fine. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you?
It would have been even funnier though if like the pattern of these worthless soldiers and guards like continued, whereas he's like, situation normal, all good, all good. How are you? And if they would have responded like, just happy it's Friday.
just getting through the day, living the dream, dealing with these dumbass stormtroopers. Like,
Obviously Han Solo blows that call. Luke, we're gonna have company. They find Princess Leia, they rescue her, and I love this scene especially because the narrative of Luke just being a whiny bee continues. They come out into the hallway, and a bunch of stormtroopers invade the little foyer area, and they have a back and forth firefight there. And once again, I mean, Leia, Han, and Luke, who have no experience with blasters, kill like the whole platoon. They don't even get like,
stormtroopers, yeah,
yeah, they don't even get like nipped. And Leia blows a hole because they know they have to, go down into the garbage chute. And she goes, into the garbage, flyboy, and she dives down. And Han goes to Luke, lovely girl. And Luke just looks at her like, don't you fucking dare.
I love this woman.
Do you remember that? Like, he just
He
looks at her
gives him a
like,
death
he's
scowl,
like, you
like,
better fucking not. Love that. It's like,
yeah.
if you only knew, obviously it's your sister, but it's like you just met her. Who knows where Kenobi is at this time? You're on a Empire base in the middle of space, rescuing, a prisoner. So that's where your focus is pretty funny. But
Yeah,
but
that leads into they jump down into that garbage disposal pit, right? And like
yes.
watching back again, just a pointless scene. Like there's no need. We know they're not going to die or get crushed. So why do it like it's so unnecessary. Like the three main heroes that we're introduced to were 45 minutes into the movie and they make it just long drawn out dramatic,
Yes.
clip of having to save the heroes and just so corny, really. I'm like, okay, like
Yeah.
just move on,
Yeah, well, and who saves the day is 3PO. And it's like now
Yeah,
you want to treat him with respect, but the
yeah, Luke.
entire movie you're shitting on him and shutting him off and just like,
Yeah,
just being so
yeah,
disrespectful. And now he literally saves your life. It's like,
exactly.
okay,
Three
you
PO,
better be
3PO.
better kiss his ass, huh?
Right.
But they get out of there. But before they do, one thing I do love about the movie is the fight between Kenobi and Vader. It's such a slow lightsaber duel, but I enjoy it because obviously, at that time in 77, you don't know of their history, but here we are, 2026, you know of the history of Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker. I really do enjoy that duel. It's slow, but essentially they're two old men. Darth Vader is half robot, really. Kenobi's on his, last hurrah, if you will. And I just love the back and forth, what they're talking like your powers are weak, old man. Like I really do enjoy that lightsaber duel.
Okay,
And
hear me out though. I mean, I'm with you. I like it too because you get, the script there is pretty cool. You clearly they have, walking into Star Wars completely blind. Obviously, these guys have a backstory together, a history together. I mean, comment below. I to this day do not understand how Obi-Wan Kenobi disappears when he gets lightsabered by Vader. Was that
how it
explained in this
disappears.
newer trilogy? Like
Nope.
So, like, if anyone's watching, please answer this question for me.
Seriously.
I'm not being a smartass. I don't understand where Kenobi goes when he gets lightsabered, how his body just disappears and vanishes.
Right.
Is that something? Is he using the Force? Like he knows he's going to die, but like I just don't understand it. He doesn't return at all. Like that's the last we see of Ben Kenobi.
In human form, he does return as a Force ghost. So,
Exactly, but like, is he a Force ghost alive? Is he actually alive somewhere and just is has such power with the Force that he can like levitate somewhere and show up as a ghost to Luke when he needs the guidance or whatever? Like, I don't understand. And as
yeah.
far as I'm aware, I don't ever remember that being. Maybe it was in the newer trilogy. I haven't seen any of the newer trilogy. I, stopped at 2005, with Revenge of the Sith. I couldn't tell you shit about the new movies.
Yeah.
But to this day, how did he disappear?
No, for sure. I personally, to answer your question, I think it's just a plot hole. Like, I think that was the very first Star Wars movie that came out, and I think when they were filming, it's like, oh, this, maybe what happens to someone when they die from a lightsaber, right? But then, obviously, through episodes 5 and 6, like, well, no, it's not really the case, and even
Right,
if one becomes a Force ghost, like Darth Vader, Yoda, like they may not die from a lightsaber, but they ultimately die
right.
and they become Force ghosts. It's one of the last shots in episode 6, which is actually a really cool scene. But then, we jump to Phantom Menace, and Liam Nelson's character dies of a lightsaber stab wound. So I personally think it is just a plot hole, and that was the first time they were filming a Star Wars movie. But I like where you're going with that. If anybody's watching this and you know more about it than we do, please comment below because that's a good question. And then that transitions us to the iconic scene in the Millennium Falcon when Han and Luke jump in the twin guns and they take out a little fleet of,
X-wings or something? What?
yeah, yeah, Death Star fighter jets. We'll
Yeah,
call them that.
yeah.
And Luke Skywalker holds his own. We got another funny quote from him. Yeah, I got one. Han Solo, great kid. Don't
Don't
get
get
cocky.
cocky.
It's just hysterical. Luke
Mhm.
Skywalker, his transition just through A New Hope. It's, now all of a sudden he's got all the confidence in the world. So they hold their own and they deliver the plans, and that leads us to the briefing scene to blow up the Death Star. You brought up the Family Guy parodies, and I
Oh,
love it because that
yeah.
gets us started with the briefing scene here and they are explaining from the plans that are successfully delivered from the droids how to blow up the Death Star. And you have Luke chilling in the back next to some no-name pilot who just spits out, "That's impossible, even for a computer." And once again, just Luke, just being a whiny, cocky brat. "It's not impossible. I used to bullseye womp rats with my T-16 back home, and they're no bigger than 2 meters." It's just so rude. And it was just so funny that you brought up the Family Guy parody, because they parody that exact scene, and the pilot just pulls him aside, and he's
It's like,
like,
can I talk
can
to
I,
you for a second?
yeah, can I talk to you for a sec? What was up with that? I sandbagged me? Yeah, you sandbagged me, bro. It's just such a funny encounter. I love the Family Guy, Star
Yeah,
Wars
they're great.
parodies.
They are
They are
like
hysterical,
they
dude.
pick out the funniest moments of the original trilogy to parody every like just so good. So good.
Absolutely. But just another iconic quote from Luke Skywalker. So yeah, that leads us towards the tail end of A New Hope, obviously. We know how it ends. They successfully blow up the Death Star.
Han Solo returns and saves the
Han
day. Darth Vader.
Yahoo! He does. He does. And it's a great setup for a sequel and leading to
Great
the
shot,
Empire's
Red too.
leading to an Empire Strikes Back. But before the movie caps, there's a award ceremony for Luke, Han, and Chewie, where they walk down this hall in a large auditorium with hundreds, if not thousands, of rebels cheering them on, and Princess Leia gifts them medals of honor, if you will. Have you ever seen the edited scene of this where whoever edited it went in and cut out the score? And the title is literally like what this scene would actually sound like. And it's just so awkward. Like it's like clapping for like 10 seconds and then like slowly like kills off. You hear like a cough in the background, like and then when they get up the stairs, it shows Han Solo look at Princess Leia, and when he smiles, you hear like his lips like click. It's like it's fucking hysterical. It's so, and then they turn around and once again they clap for like 10 seconds. And I'm like, that's really how the movie should end, is like cut the score and have a realistic sound bite of the ceremony. It's fucking hysterical.
Iconic sound score, though. I mean,
Yeah.
Star Wars, the first thing I think of, honestly, when I think Star Wars is the original score.
Oh, yeah.
That's like stands out most to me, more than anything else. But yeah, overall, it's as a kid, loved it. As an adult, I don't personally see the appeal of like the rave behind it. I'm sure we're gonna get a lot of hate for that, but
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I don't really care. I don't think it's like
Well,
if I
I wouldn't say we like shit on the movie.
no, not at all. It's just like I don't see I waiting in line outside of a movie theater for the new trilogy or whatever, like it was 10 years ago or whatnot. Like I just don't understand that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's is what it is.
What do you
It's a
rate?
C.
You're going to see for A New
Yeah,
Hope?
it is what it is. Mindless, rainy afternoon. If it's on TV or something, like I'll throw it on for old time's sake and like probably laugh at it. But yeah, it's not a go-to trilogy of mine. It's not a anything that's like super memorable, I guess.
Yeah, last week I rated Titanic as 6.5. I'm gonna keep that for Star Wars A New Hope. I do enjoy it. It's fun, keeps me entertained, but
Hmm.
yeah, I mean it's Star Wars, and we literally just spent half an hour dissecting it, talking about, the pros and cons, things we like, things we don't like, and it's a good movie, but not something I go out of my way to watch, but I
Sure.
do enjoy it when it's on. I'm gonna give Star Wars A New Hope a 6.5. And if you guys are watching, please comment below. What do you rank it? Why? Where do you put it amongst the Star Wars franchise?
I
Is
mean,
it one of your
obviously, it's a
favorites, least
classic.
favorites? Comment below. Definitely get engaged in the comment section because that's why we're here and we really want to hear your guys' opinions on this too. And if you love this movie, great. That's awesome. We all have our movies that we enjoy and we don't enjoy, and that's the beauty of entertainment. It's the beauty of art. So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Good
yeah.
discussion on it. I'm sure we'll revisit Star Wars in the future at some point.